Hey guys, Chris here. You joined me in my hotel room here in Røde. I'm out traveling for work. Today is not a car vlog. Today is not a travel vlog. Today is a bit of a different video. Kind of a Q&A just with one question. And the big question a lot of you guys have been asking me for the past few weeks, the past few months is XC40 versus XC60. A few guys have actually been DMing me on Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, link in the description down below. I post daily Volvos, I post daily cars and watches. Those are my two passions here in life, cars and watches. And if you want to, ask me questions, it's much easier to do that on Instagram than here on YouTube. So go ahead, follow me in the description down below. You'll find the link. And before I forget it, I also have a 5,000 subscriber giveaway. So check out the video up there in the right corner. Be sure to follow and watch that video all the way through, and then read the description. In the description, read the terms of the giveaway in the description down below of that video, as YouTube requires me to do, so you know and understand how to enter and how to be eligible to win one of the beautiful giveaways I'm giving away in that video. So that's still open for a few more weeks, but off until today's video, XC40 versus XC60, and I've actually compiled a list of pros and cons with both cars, and I've actually tried to do some research here and check out the Norwegian configurator, the Swedish configurator, the British and the US configurator, and depending on what market where you live, what market you're buying the car in, the specs, the engine choices, the packages do vary. Some places you can get these wheels, other places you can't get these wheels. So that's why this is going to be a more general video. I'm not going to go into details and go through the configurator of any of these countries, but because it won't make any sense for people not from there. So I'm just going to do it from my perspective. But first off, we're going to go through the pros of the XC40. So the XC40 has really cool and youthful styling inside and out, and it just looks very cool and very different from anything else on the road. The concept they showed last year or the year before, I think last year or the year before, I'm not sure. The XC40 concept was, it's how the XC40 turned out in real life is very close to that concept. So that is very cool, and it does look like, the XC90, the XC60, the S90, and also the new V60, but it's most definitely a step to the side with the same design language. So if you want something, quintessential Volvo, but a bit different, the XC40 does it both on the inside and the outside. So that's one of the pros of that car. It stands much more out from the crowd than the other Volvo products. And the other Volvo products are just look beautiful, so that's saying something about the design there. It's more compact in size. It's only about 4.4 meters long, meaning it's just a bit longer, and it's also just a bit wider than your typical, subcompact car like a Volkswagen Golf or a Ford Focus. It's a really nice size if you live in the city. So if you live in a big European city, Barcelona, London, Stockholm, Berlin, typical European cities where streets are narrow and parking spaces are limited, and big parts of the cities were built long before cars were ever in the minds of any of the inventors. The XC40 is an excellent car. Even I live in a city of about 80,000 people, but when I go into the city, having a small and compact car is just very, very practical. Also, the ride comfort of the XC40 and the ride comfort handling balance is just exceptional. It's a very fun car to drive on a twisty road, but it also handles very well, of course, as I said, but it also rides very good, and that's on standard steel suspension. I haven't even tested the car with any active chassis because I don't think that's available yet, or might be available, but the press cars which I've driven don't have that. So those are the pros. Also, It's very practical, the car. Inside cabin storage, you know, bins and stuff like that is very practical. The trunk is also very practical. And if you haven't seen any of my reviews or videos on the XC40, check it out up there in the right corner. It's just a very practical car, especially for its size. It just maximizes practicality for that class of vehicle. But then over to the cons, and I have only two complaints actually. And number one is the steering is just too light on the cars I've driven. Even when you put it to the heaviest setting, it's just too light. When I jump in from my XC90 or from the XC40 press cars I've had, set to the heaviest setting, and then I jump into my XC90, which has the middle setting of steering heaviness, it's still much lighter than on my XC90, and also much lighter than on our Audi A4 also, which you can't even adjust the steering wheel heaviness on. So it just makes the car feel a bit unstable at it's fun on the twisty roads, but it just makes the car feel a bit unstable on the twisty roads, just not as planted as, you know, the bigger Volvo cars. And also, this is a big one for me because I drive so many highway miles at high speeds, and I think it's a bit too noisy at highway speeds. Wind noise is okay, but the tire noise is just, for me, and it's par for the class. You know, it has nothing to do with the vehicle. It's just as quiet as the X1. But for me, for my type of driving, it's just a bit too noisy because I am used to, you know, my XC90 with double glazed, double laminated windows, and that car is just really quiet on the highway. Then we have the XC60. So let's start with the pros there also. So it has a more grown up and premium exterior styling, in my opinion. It just I think it looks better. I think the XC60 looks better because it looks more premium and more grown up. That might just be me because I'm getting old. If you're 10 years younger than me, if you're in your 20s or something like that, you might think it actually looks better. If you're in your 40s or older than me, you might think it also looks better. That's just my opinion. I think the XC60 looks better. And that's especially true on the inside because the XC60 sits up there with the XC90 as being a luxury car interior. Not a premium car interior, a luxury car interior. It just looks much better on the inside than the XC40, but also the materials, the attention to detail, the build quality, the solidity, how the car feels, how the doors feel when closing them. It just feels much more solid than on the XC40. And I'm not faulting the XC40 at all. It's just that the XC60 is so well put together. And the XC60 is, since it's a higher tier vehicle, it's more quiet, it's more refined, especially at motorway speeds. It's just, you know, below what I consider my threshold for being a comfortable highway cruiser. And also on the highway and on, you know, other types of roads, it just feels more planted. It feels more solid. It's a much more substantial vehicle. No, it's not as nimble. No, it's not as fun on the corners, but it just feels like a tier above, which it is. But that's something I do find consider a positive. And it's also a bigger vehicle inside, so you have more storage. You have more, you know, headroom, you have more knee room, you have more width inside the cabin, you have a bigger trunk also. And the last pro of the XC60 is something that's, you know, very close to my heart because I love music. I love having, you know, driving on a road trip for many hours without a proper stereo just isn't the same for me. It almost takes away all the joy of going on a road trip. And the Bowers & Wilkins premium sound system in the XC60 versus the Harman & Kardon premium sound system in the XC40. And I know there is a huge price difference here. The Bowers & Wilkins is about 3 times the price, but you can't get anything better than the Harman & Kardon in the XC40. So that's why I'm mentioning this, but the Bowers & Wilkins premium sound system is miles better than the Harman Kardon. The Harman Kardon it's okay, it's fine. No, it's actually very good. I haven't touched upon this because I hadn't had any time in any of my videos, but the subwoofer in the XC40 and the Harman Kardon is built into the dashboard, meaning and when they did that, they took away the lower frequency, the bass speakers in the doors, meaning it lacks. It has the really low frequency basses, and it has the mids and the highs, but it's lacking that in between. And for me, who I'm used to listening to my Bowers & Wilkins sound system, where I have I have highs, mids, bass speakers, and then the subwoofer. I really do hear that the bass speakers are lacking, and just when listening to music I'm used to listening to, I really do hear a huge difference. And that's me. That's my my preference. But I know a lot of you guys out there also love music, and that's just something to consider, that the Bowers & Wilkins premium sound system, though 3 times more expensive than the Harman Kardon in the XC40, is miles better. There's no comparison. The Bowers & Wilkins sound system is so damn good in the XC60. I would pay twice what they're asking for it. But I hope you guys at Volvo are not watching this, because so you don't jack up the price. The prices are very fine. So then over to the cons, it costs more. The XC60 costs more. If you want an XC60 for the same price as an XC40, you have to go down a trim level, or you have to choose an engine that is smaller, or you have to take away options. You can't get the same car for the same price. Of course not. It's a tier above. It should be more expensive, and that's just how it works. And then the last con, because I couldn't think of too many cons, is that it's bigger on the exterior, meaning it's not as practical, not as easy to use or to drive in the city. Because that was a pro for the XC40, then it must be a con for the XC60. But it's bigger inside. The XC40 is smaller inside. So that's what is what. And those are the things to consider. And based on those things, and considering that I've actually, and remember guys that I drive these cars back to back to back to back. If you've been following the channel for a while, you know that I've driven all these different Volvos, and I have a lot of experience with them, meaning that when I've driven one car and then I drive a different car, it's really hard for me to forget the impressions of the other car. So driving an XC40, it's really hard for me not to compare that car with an XC60. And my thought of train goes like that. If I would have, say $50,000, which I expect an XC60 here on the US configurator, the equivalent XC40 is $47,000. That's $3,000 in difference. I would, without a doubt in my mind, spend the extra $3,000 on the XC60. No doubt in my mind, because it's just a better car overall, in my opinion. That might be different in the UK, that might be different in Sweden, that might be different in Brazil, Malaysia, Singapore, the Philippines. You just have to take that into consideration. But if you get the car's price similar and the XC60 would have a smaller engine, I would go for the XC60. If you would have to choose a lower trim level on the XC60, I would still go for an XC60. So I think for me the importantness is the highway comfort, the quietness, the luxurious interior, and the sound system that is available on the XC60. So all in all, I would tick a few less boxes. I would go for a smaller engine to get an XC60 for the same price as an XC40, and that's what a lot of you guys have been asking me about. A follower on Instagram did exactly that. He ordered an XC40 and then he got offered an XC60 at a really good price. This was a car with just a few miles on it, a few thousand miles. This was the seller's own car that he sold. He bought it for the same price as what his XC40 would cost, and I said no doubt in my mind, go for the XC60. He did that and hasn't, you know, regretted that a day. So that's my opinion, and I hope I've, you know, answered this question in detail for you guys and given you, you know, not only my opinion but tried to break it down so you guys understand why my opinions are my opinions. So do you agree with me? Would you do the same? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, guys, if you like this video, please drop me a thumbs up down below. And for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later and goodbye.